Let's talk about how to price junk removal. And this is a step-by-step, so you have a clear idea what you really need to think about. And so here's an overview I want you to pay attention to. So when you think about pricing junk removal jobs, there are three things you need to look at: the volume, the time, and most importantly, the weight. So let's talk about that. So there are three ways you can price your junk removal jobs. Okay, volume, time, weight, VTW. You can also use a combination of a few. So whatever you choose, it's about selecting the methods that work best for your business. So let's talk about volume first. So volume-based pricing might be the most popular junk removal business pricing approach and the most standard method. It's based on fractions of how full your truck is, ranging from a minimum truckload to a full truckload. So if you hit a full truckload on a job, the price will restart again by adding a new truckload. So more experienced team members can determine the price by roughly measuring the volume. This measurement can be pretty accurate, but newer, less experienced team members will misquote. So if you choose a volume-based pricing approach, you will have to accept the learning curve that comes with it and train your less experienced staff on how to quote using this strategy. Volume-based pricing is often combined with the time-based pricing model. And so your standard price indicates your ability to work and also include 1 hour of work. But if the job exceeds that hour, an additional cost is added. You also have time. So a time-based pricing method is probably the easiest way of organizing your junk removal pricing. It's basically based on the time it takes you and your crew to complete the job, which is fairly straightforward. So this method is depending on you clocking in at the start of the job and clocking out at the end of the job to actually get a solid idea of how long the job took. So you or your crew must remember to keep a close eye on the clock. Although this is a simple approach, it's important to remember that there are some downsides to a time-based pricing model. The major downside is that your customer doesn't get a straightforward estimate upfront, so your invoice process comes after the job is done. You could also misprice a job if your calculations are off. You might underestimate how much time a job takes, or you might overestimate it. So this means what? It means you can either be losing a lot of cash, or you could be charging your customer way too much cash, costing your relationship and potential referral. So those are things you need to pay attention to. Now, there are many factors to consider with the time plus disposal fee method. So where is the property and how is it laid out? How much disassembly is required, if any? And how much does the junk weigh? So really pay attention to that. So let's talk about weight here. Charging by the weight could be more like a clear-cut approach to pricing junk removal jobs because the weight of the junk you are hauling is fixed. You can charge per pound of junk, giving your customers a total cost in their invoice at the end of the job. Boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. Make yourself comfortable. You are going to enjoy today's conversation. All right, let me give you a few pro tips here. So when let's talk about junk removal pricing best practices. First of all, you want to research your competition. Okay, you got to have a clear idea what your competition is charging. And so basically, and this is based on your geography. So you got to look around the surroundings, what your competition is charging. Don't look for what the competition is charging nationally. No, look locally. And then you want to consider your margins. So the thing here is that if you want to stay in business, you need to actually look at your cost and then look at your margins, right? So your cost will give you a clear idea of your break-even point, and then you can just add your margins to come to the price that you will charge the customer. So when we talk about expenses, think about office rent, gas, truck insurance, salaries, equipment or truck maintenance, phone bills, internet bills, service business software, accounting software, taxes, interest. Those are costs that are fixed costs, and you want to have a clear idea that those costs are covered whenever you take on a new job. Okay. You can also use your net profits to invest back into your business so you can continue to grow, but you got to make profits first. And the profits will be the 20%, 30%, 50% you add on top of your fixed cost. And so if you want to actually grow your business, you can actually make investments in things like new marketing and advertising initiatives, software upgrades, equipment upgrades, expansion initiatives into new cities or territories. Because see, junk removal, there will always be junk removal. Because when people talk about junk removal, they think about construction, the construction industry. But you have a whole lot of industries that need junk removal work. And I'm not even talking about B2C, because you have customers too. You have customers who need junk removal trucks to come and just take care of whatever junk they have. Okay, so it's not just B2B, you have B2C also. So the bottom line here is that there is work to be done. It's just that you need to actually organize yourself. You need to price your job correctly so that you can make a decent profit off of every job, so you can remain in business and continue to expand. Boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about how to price junk removal jobs. The next thing I want you to think about here is that you need to really get scientific with your pricing. So regardless of which pricing method you are using, keep track of how long a certain truckload takes to unload and how many employees you will need to help. You want to store all of this in a business management software that provides time and job tracking features. You should not guesstimate on every job. You will better understand your work and how much it should cost as you actively track your time on a job, right? You want to get all the job information you need upfront. So you talk to the customer, you take notes, you take pictures, or take even videos with your phone, right? So this is kind of cool. And when we talk about collecting intel, ideally, this happens in the booking or work request process on your website. You can initiate a similar system on the phone, and depending on your team setup, you can have an administrator put up all this information into a work request for you. And information you can gather can include things like the client contact information, the junk pickup location. For instance, this is kind of important. The requested service date and service time. Now, the reason why you want to have the pickup location is because you want to think about some regulations, local regulations, to see how you can get there with your truck. And also, you need to think about whether this is a full or self-service, depending on your service offerings. You got to ask about the type of junk they need hauled, and if there are some special instructions. Remember, when we talk about junk, we're talking about stuff that is junk, that is literally junk. And when you get into certain categories of junk, then you have state and federal authorities might be involved. For instance, if you're going to haul hazmat junk, then we're talking about a federally sensitive commodity, and you might have to actually get some licenses or some permits, whatever, both at the federal level, but also the state level. So be very careful here. So that's why you want to do your due diligence beforehand. You want to do your research beforehand. And so you can also automate this whole process of collecting data from the clients, okay, by having junk removal business software to improve your day-to-day operations. Because automation helps you complete basic redundant tasks so you can focus on scaling your business instead. This is kind of cool. So having all this information up front also gives you an idea of what your profit monsters will be, so you can yield the most high profit jobs, right? Because that's what you want anyway. Let me give you the steps I want you to follow right now if you want to price junk removal jobs. The first thing you need to do here is to understand the work. See, depending on which pricing method you choose, the steps I'm going to share with you today might differ, but here are the general steps you should take when calculating your job prices. So first, understand the job. So get the full scope of your work by using job request forms on your website or Facebook page. What happens here is that you will automatically get a notification as soon as a new request comes through. You will have all the job information on hand immediately, right? So you have a clear idea what you need to do, how to do it, when to do it. So you need to ask your prospect all of the important questions there to better prepare you for the job ahead, such as the job location, the type of building they live in or they are located in, the amount of junk they would like to haul. See, the thing is that the more specific you are, the better. And the more specific you are, the more specific your questions are, the more specific the answers will be. And this is better for you, right? So the amount of junk they would like to haul, we're talking here about the weight. And if they would like to donate some of the junk, so that way you have a clear idea how to actually dispose of the junk. That way you can contact you can contact third parties in the industry so that they can be ready to actually receive the junk also. And you need to ask the customer also if they would like additional services. Because see, the thing is, a junk removal service, a junk removal job rather, is never alone. This is not, it's never a standalone job. That's what I mean. You always have ancillary jobs, ancillary tasks. For example, property maintenance, cleaning, handyman work, painting. This is a great opportunity for business partnerships. So you can basically go from one job to multiple jobs, so this is how you expand your crew also. So you have, like, in your crew, you will have a handyman, you will have a painter, you have a property maintenance worker. So you have all those folks. So when you go, you are providing something called an all-in-one service. Boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about how to price junk removal work. Next, you want to estimate your labor cost. So when we talk about estimating your labor costs, we're talking about being very granular here. See, now we can't be just having estimates like, I think maybe it will cost $1,000. No. You got to be really clear, because now that you have a full scope of what the job request entails, you can estimate the cost of your biggest expense. That's labor. Because when you think about a junk removal job, the most important labor here is labor expense item, if you will, is labor. And so if you're hauling a couple of items, you may need 1 or 2 employees to help. If you're hauling 2 truckloads of junk, you are likely to need a few extra hands to get the job done within a reasonable amount of time. Because see, time is money. Time is money. It's better that you hire like 10 people to get a job done in 2 hours than to hire 2 people and get the job done in 10 hours. Think about that. Okay. So if you don't know how to start, this is when basically you can just rely on junk removal service software. Like, there are a lot of them actually out there can really help you in terms of, digitally record and save job notes on the go. So this is kind of cool. Now, when we talk about calculating your junk removal labor cost, there are a few things you can do. First of all, multiply the number of hours needed to complete the job by the number of employees needed on the job to get your labor hours. So if you have 5 employees and you have, let's say, you need 20 hours to get the job done, then you need 5 employees. They might have to work 4 hours each. So if you actually position them properly. Next, you need to calculate your hourly labor cost. This includes employee or subcontractor wages. So extra for taxes, for example, you got to think about workers' compensation and any other employee related expenses. So 20% is a reliable markup for an hourly labor cost. And then what you do here is that you want to multiply the labor hours by the labor cost to get your labor cost, your total labor cost. That way you have a clear idea. Then, like if you know that you'll be paying 20, let's say 2,000 in labor cost to your employees, then you can maybe charge like, I'll speak about the markup later on, but you can charge 2,500, for instance, to have a nice $500 in profit. But this is the logic you want to follow. Step number 3, you need to add in taxes. So we can't forget taxes when pricing jobs. Remember to include payroll taxes in your labor cost. So taxes are really critical. Number 4, estimate your profits. So remember, profits equals what? Margin equals net sales revenue minus labor, minus material, minus overhead cost. So we have labor, fixed cost, and variable cost. So a higher profit margin means your business is retaining more money. If you are unhappy with the profit percentage, try playing around with the numbers. Adjust your markup percentage or your profit margin percentage and do the math again and see what works for you. So you want to write the quote, send it, and follow up with your customer. So the cool thing is you can actually write a professional looking quote using the downloadable and customizable quote templates. There are a lot of them online. If you need help, let us know. We'll hook you up. And if you want to get paid faster and automate this process, just go with an app. You can use an app or you can use software. And again, if you need help, just let us know. We'll just give you the best based on your geography. Once your quote has been professionally filled out it's time to email or text it to your customer so they can easily, and quickly review it, view it, and approve it. So email quotes allow your customers to open them in PDFs, while texting quotes may get them actually open and seen faster. So both options offer very professional looking solutions in comparison to a pen and paper alternative. So this is kind of cool. So the thing is that once you send the info to them, you need to follow up. You need to send maybe a follow-up email to customers you haven't heard back from, so you can close the deal and book the job. That's what you want anyway, right? Now, quote follow-ups are really important because you want to really show the customer that you really care about the job too. Because if they just reach out to you, you just reach out to them once and they never get back to you because maybe they're busy with other stuff. But if they see that you are insistent, you are really insisting on getting the job, that shows that you are interested, and they'll really give you the job. Okay, and if you're not automating your follow-ups with a service business software tool, you can set reminders in your calendar. Either way, you are able to get the job done. Let me give you a bonus here. So sometimes you have to adjust your junk removal pricing. Stuff happens. Let's say you just quoted the customer like $8,000 or $5,000, and then stuff happens and you feel like, you know what, I'm going to bring the price back to $3,000. I mean, there are a few factors that you should keep an eye on, which can impact your pricing strategy, right? So the economy, so we have the general state of the economy. Stuff happens. If you have a lot of banks filing for bankruptcy or whatever, this could really affect the pricing or the general mood of business around the country. If you have changing wage expectations, this can also affect your pricing strategy. So if your workers expect to be paid more, then you might need to increase the price you charge the customer. Also, you need to think about competition. As market rate changes, as market rates change, you need to change it with them as well. You need to adjust. Otherwise, you'll be left out. You got to really see exactly what's happening in the industry, and never dump fee cost. So the thing is here is that when we talk about by the way, the thing is when we talk about dump fee cost in general, those are things that really happen, and you can have new fees, old fees that are reenacted at the city level. And remember that the city can actually change its cost for garbage, waste, scrap metal, electronic waste, and hazmat waste, costing you more to drop off junk. So think about, if there is an adjustment, how would you adjust your cost as well, your revenue, so you can still stay in business? It's all about staying in business. How do you adjust things around? So those are elements that you to really pay attention to. Otherwise, you'll be really surprised that you have a job, you have multiple jobs where you're never making money. You're struggling to make money. And this is not how things are supposed to be. So be very careful here. But overall, as long as you actually plan things correctly and you're following up with the customer, and you also do the math, you use software to really track your cost, you should be good to go. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I was just talking to you about how to price junk removal jobs, and I give you the overview. So think about volume, time, weight, and then I give you a few pro tips and the steps you need to follow to actually price the junk removal job correctly. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll speak to you another time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.